Today we are talking about how to deal with refs as a parent. And so again, I have 3 things that you can do to help improve your interaction as a parent on the sideline. So number 1, please don't yell at the referees. It is embarrassing for your child to hear you screaming over at the den and just losing your mind when you're yelling at the referees. I don't want to put myself above anyone because I am guilty of doing this as well, getting really competitive, getting really into the game, and sometimes losing my cool and saying stuff to the referees. But it's not pleasant for the kids, the players who are playing at the game, to see adults losing their mind at a youth sports game. And then the second part of it, I don't think anybody enjoys getting yelled at, criticized, screamed at, berated at their job. And especially a job where they're doing it not necessarily because crazy money, but really because they're doing it because they love the game. So referees aren't in it to make a bunch of bucks. They are passionate about soccer. They want to be able to pass this love on to the next generation. So again, I understand it's easy to lose sight of certain things in the midst of the game. It's easy to be super competitive, but please don't yell at the refs. Instead of yelling at the refs, spend that time encouraging your team, and spend that time encouraging your player, showing your player, your child, or the player that you're there to support, that you care about seeing them succeed and you love watching them play and you enjoy spending time with them and watching them play a game that they love. Number 2, know the rules. Soccer is different than American football. Understand the difference between being in an offside position and not being in an offside position. Understand that there may be some pushing and pulling, but not everything is a foul. Know the rules and understand that you need to understand what's going on when the referee calls a throw-in back because the ball didn't go all the way over somebody's head, or the referee called a penalty kick. Not every free kick is a penalty kick, right? So understand the rules. And then finally, the third point, I would say, you are being watched. Yes, you're being watched by your kids. When you're starting to complain and starting to, complain and whine to the referee, they see you and then they start. Actually, it kind of leads to 2 things. So number 1, it shows them that, you know what, when things don't go our way, it's okay to rage and lose our minds and back to authority when things aren't going our way, when life isn't fair. And number 2, you're teaching them that, hey, it's not my fault that we lost. The refs were terrible. So you're teaching them that, number 1, that when life's not fair, that we can throw temper tantrum and that we can be able to talk back to authority, or we can be able to complain, and we can throw temper tantrums and to lose our mind when things don't go our way. And then number 2, you're teaching them we don't have to take responsibility for our actions. So if things aren't going our way, it's not our fault. It was the ref. And again, there are going to be decisions that referees make that you're not going to like, that aren't going to be fair. And you might be valid with your point about complaining about stuff. Referees aren't perfect. But the best thing about sports is what the life lessons that players and kids learn from it. And we want them to realize that, number 1, yeah, it's not always going to be fair. And that doesn't give us the right to lose our mind, even when things don't go our way, or people mistreat us, or things aren't always easiest for us. So we have to figure out how to deal with it. And then number 2, we have to take responsibility for what's going on in our life and what's going on. Eventually, you got to stop blaming other people. Eventually, you have to go up and be able to say, like, yes, I get it. This isn't fair. The odds are stacked against me, but how do I learn from this? So, does your player struggle with this? Does your player struggle with, dealing with referees are dealing with, even the mindset to go along with dealing with difficulties in their life. If they do, I think the off the field resource guide that I have created is definitely for them. So go ahead and check out my off the field resource guide. It's some of the resources that I use for players in our program. If you wanted to download that free guide, go ahead, go to www.tfsoccertraining.com/mindset. Okay, so in conclusion, I make mistakes at this all the time, but it's important to self-analyze and kind of reflect and say, okay, what am I doing here, and how can I improve what I'm doing here? And I think a big part of this is what I've seen going to soccer games and seeing from parents' behaviors and how they interact and deal with referees. It's just, honestly, it's frustrating. So yes, you may be valid in some of your criticism, but make sure that you're not somebody who is getting out of line and out of bounds with what you say. So 3 things to think about. Number 1, don't yell at the refs. Spend that time encouraging your player instead. Number 2, know the rules. Please understand the game instead of just blurting out how wrong they are. Please make sure. There's nothing worse than saying something and you have literally no idea what you're talking about. And then number 3, understand that you're being watched and make sure that you're teaching your kids the right thing. That number 1, that it's not okay to lose our mind and to lose control, even when things don't go our way. And number 2, help you to teach your kids that in life, we have to take responsibility. Just like in sports, we have to take responsibility even when things aren't fair. We take responsibility and we don't say, oh, the refs were terrible, so that means it's not my fault. That's the reason that we didn't win. No, you have to learn from it. Okay? Thanks for checking out our video.